I think we'd have to live under a rock for us not to have heard the benefits of our children making music in the home and in the school, right? Research has shown that when children make music, there's an increase in their processing speed in all subjects. There's an increase in their aptitude overall. There is an increase in their cultural identity, especially depending on what music they are making. It reinforces who they are, where they belong, what their language is, to what beat they should walk through life. Or in our case, to what prelude. One of the things that I love, though, as a music teacher is that I observe that when children make music in the home and in the classroom, it actually increases their self-confidence. There's something about making music with other people that grounds you in a community, that makes you feel safe, but then also gives you experiences of communicating successfully with others. And I always love when eye contact is increased in the music-making experience, so on and so forth. But I really don't want to spend this hour talking about why music is important in the home and in the classroom. Instead, I would rather focus on what is it to make good music. I want to talk about the practical side of making music with your children. Excellence in any subject begins with the teacher, okay? And so if you want to teach excellence in music, you as the teacher first need to model excellent musical behaviors. And that's primarily what we're going to talk about today. How do you model excellence in music? Because music is actually a trade that is apprenticed. And so if you are the one who is teaching music to the children, it's very important that you yourself remain the student of someone. Whether that be that you take private lessons for voice or for an instrument, whether that means that you join a church choir where you are under the guidance and leadership of a director, choir director, whether you join a community band, it's important for you to model for children the behavior that music is an ongoing learning process. We are always working on it. We're always learning something new. We're always practicing. And what that does is it puts you also in a position, if you're going to have to perform some music yourself, you're going to be practicing. And that is one of the primary behaviors you will model for your children. We don't just listen to music. We make music. And we can make music that is poor or adequate or super musicalifragilisticexpialidocious. Wow, I had to look that up several times to make sure I was spelling that correctly. Music is a trade. So what I'm going to try to do today is serve as your teacher. I'm going to apprentice you in the art of teaching music, okay, in an hour. This is going to be a great overview. Some of this stuff some of you may already know. Some of you may already implement this in your home or in your classrooms. Wonderful. Thank you for supporting this information. Or if it's new to you, great. I would love if you go home with a few new tricks in your pocket, okay? One of the best things to do when teaching music is not to talk about it, but to actually let the music teach itself. Let me give you an example. I'm going to give you a poor example first, then I'm going to give you an excellent example. Why don't you go ahead and stand on up? We all know Silent Night, right? Okay. I am going to play a bit of it on the piano, but I'm going to warn you, this is not modeling excellent musical behavior. It's very out of tune. So we're going to pick a key based off of what I'm playing, but maybe just kind of raise your pitch up just a little bit while we're singing. I want you to start by singing piano. You're going to crescendo to a good mezzo forte in the middle of the first system, decrescendoing back to piano at the end of the first system, and I want you to repeat the exact same thing on the second system. So many of you already know those musical terms if you could follow that instruction, but I ask you, could any child, even one who practices music, who plays music, who sings music, could they have followed that many instructions at once and then performed it to my request? Most likely not, because the best way, again, music is a trade, right? The master craftsman who's making the violin doesn't tell his students, you're going to cut it this way and follow this certain degree, and then I want you to stand. No, he's going to sit there, show them how to do it, ask them to do it in front of them, give some feedback, do it again and again and again. So instead of giving instructions to children about music, instead just demonstrate the music. I'm going to get away from the microphone. Let's sing Silent Night together. Listen first. Silent night, holy night. You sing it. Silent night, holy night. Now listen. All is calm, all is bright. You try it. All is calm, all is bright. That's right. And when we're engaging in that way, you're looking at me, I'm looking at you, we're making music together. Not only are you learning how to listen to me, how to respond to my instruction, but you're making music at the same time, and I have the opportunity to give you the most information in the moment that I can without even describing it. I think it's good afterward to describe it. Have a seat. You did an excellent job starting at a nice piano at the beginning of your phrase. When you crescendoed up to a mezzo forte, it gave me chills on my arm, actually. We have some good singers in here. Oftentimes, when instructing, though, or teaching, there is an appropriate moment to talk more, okay? When you're making music, I really recommend, if you come upon a moment where you need to explain something further, I recommend you use a 1, 2, 3 approach of teaching. And that is this. Number 1, give an instruction, and that's give an instruction, okay? 2, let your musicians apply that instruction to their music, which means they're often either going to play it or sing it for you, okay? What do you suppose 3 is? Give them direct feedback about number 1. For example, if you feel comfortable sitting while singing, will you please sing for me the opening system of Silent Night? We'll end with the word bright. On this pitch, here we go. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. Here comes my number 1. Beautiful tone, but I would really like you to tie every note together. See if you can sing without taking a breath until the word bright. You just did number 2, step 2 for me. Now I'll do step 3. It looked like many of you were running out of air. That's a normal thing. I want you to take a deeper breath this time. Let's stand back up. A deep breath, and put your hand in front of your mouth. As you sigh, feel the warm air on your hand. Instead of sighing when you sing, I'd like you to just fog the mirror in front of you. Let's sing it that way. That was beautiful. Okay, not only did you all have a nice continuous sound to your phrase, but when you didn't let so much air out, I could actually understand your words a little bit better. Okay, that's an example of 1, 2, 3. You just repeat that cycle over and over again. Don't be like I was at the beginning and give 6 instructions at once. If you're doing your graduate choral work, yes. But otherwise, no. The whole point of teaching music, right, is you're apprenticing it. You want them to not only understand and be able to take in your example, but you want to give them practice at it. So if we speak too much, they don't get to sing as much. Have a seat again. Let the music teach the music. What you're going to find, though, is you're going to have a whole lot more time to teach. When we stop talking so much when we're making music, suddenly we have to fill that space with content with actual music, which means you might find that you actually can teach more content in an hour than instead if we just talked about the music itself. Here's another little technique for using music to teach music, okay? It's call and response. Sing after me. Do, mi, do, you sing.
Do, mi, do.
My turn. Do, fa, la, fa, do, you sing.
Do, fa, la, fa, do.
Yes. Now, I'm just imitating some solfege there, but what if I actually apply a little bit more musicality to it? Repeat after me. Do, mi, do, you sing.
Do, mi, do.
Now listen. Do, fa, la, fa, do.
Do, fa, la, fa, do.
Or it doesn't even need to be a melody. We can do rhythms. Listen first. Ton, ton, ti, ti, ton.
Ton, ton, ti, ti, ton.
Ti, 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 ton, ton.
Ti, 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 ton, ton.
Ton. Ton, ton.
Ton, ton.
Hold that whole note.
Hold that whole note.
Half note, ti, ti, ton.
Half note, ti, ti, ton.
Again, that's just rhythm. Let's apply a little bit more musicality to it. My hands are already stinging. Ton, ton, ton.
Ton, ton, ton.
Ti, 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 ton.
Ti, 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 ton, ton.
Do you realize silence is a part of music too? It really is. It's actually a blessed part of music. It's a little bit of a release for your hands especially. Okay, to model excellent, clap in time. I had to do a little play on. Okay. If you want to model excellence in music making, there are 2 areas specifically. I want to make sure that we just have some basic good habits built in. And the first one is singing, okay? Whether you are a choral conductor, whether you are a clarinet teacher, whether you are the person who cleans up the spit on the floor under the trombone section, whatever your vocation is, at some point you're going to need to use singing when interacting with your children, okay? And I would really love it if we model from the beginning excellent singing behavior. All musicianship starts with posture. And this is going to transfer over into whatever instrument you play. I have been around the block a few times. I've sat in on a few voice lessons. I've taught a few myself, and I've seen lots of different tricks that are used to find good posture. Finding a good pasture is a different skill, not to be underestimated. This is the one that I find works the quickest, the most efficiently, okay? If you have your students stand up, and first of all, it all begins in the feet, shoulder width apart, not hip width, but shoulder width, okay? And on a 2D plane, I'm very stable right now. Unless somebody pushed me from in front or behind, I would not be able to stay stable. So it's important to have a good boxing stance, which is one foot just a little bit in front of the other. Which foot? I recommend if somebody's right-handed, have that right foot fudge forward. If they're left-handed, have their left foot. But it's stable. I can bounce up and down easily. If somebody punches me, I can roll with the punch, literally, okay? I'm stable now. I'm grounded. Now the next part is to get every other body part out of the way of my breathing mechanism, okay? And the easiest, most efficient way to do that, in my opinion, is to go straight up with your arms. Oh, it feels good, okay? And then you're going to let your arms fall to the side. And you're going to keep your shoulders raised the whole time, okay? Let's try it. Everybody stand up. It's nice to take a deep breath when you raise your arms. Ready? Everybody in? And stretch up, like stretch those muscles up. There should be a superhero momentum here where you feel like you could fly, okay? Are your feet shoulder width apart? One foot a little bit in front of the other. Bend your knees up and down a little bit. Now stretch straight up. You're going to let your arms fall to the side. Keep your shoulders raised the whole time. Touch the person next to you. Okay? Good. Now, feel what that does to your intercostal muscles. Those are all of your rib muscles. Do you feel how much room you have now? Slouch again. Okay? Do you feel the weight on your ribs? Okay, your shoulders give you that much weight in life, and singing, shoulders should be elevated. So one more time, and feel how much room you have. Arms up, deep breath. Now my ribs have room to grow, okay? I want you to take a deep breath through your nose. Now, we're going to stand like this for a while, and you're going to start to sweat, okay? Singing is very athletic. I have never walked away from a show or a recital without having pitted out. Choose your dress wisely, okay? But I like to think of this as an energized, engaged position. Some teachers say, have your students back up against the wall. What I don't like about that is everybody's body shape is different. And what that is it's making your head tilt back, if you're like me, if the back side is bigger than the front, okay? This is a very tall, open, expanded posture, okay? Keep it up. Are you sweating yet? I know. The next part of it is that sometimes, as we're not used to being engaged like this all the time, we just naturally slump a little bit, or your student might, or they'll start doing this. Or they'll start just like one knee. Some do the pelican while they sing even. It's adorable. But you're always encouraging them, feet on the floor. Thank you. Oh, if they're girls, I call it feminine posture, okay? That's how it feels, okay? But if you see the slouching start to happen, another easy trick is, imagine a string. You're a marionette. You have a string that is connected down through your skull. It goes down into each vertebrae all the way to your coccyx, okay? And just by lifting on that string, okay, it pulls everything into the right place. No wall required, okay? Are you still elevated? Are you still tall and full? Okay. Now we just fill up this space with air. And I'm going to watch you while we do it. Are you ready? Deep breath in. Good. If your shoulders are elevated, it's very hard to breathe like this, right? Which is not good anyway. We want to breathe like this. If you put your hands together where your fingers are touching right along your vertebrae, If I'm truly breathing and filling up my lungs, my intercostal muscles should spread apart and my fingers should spread apart. Did they spread apart? Good. Try that on yourself. See if you can get your fingers to spread apart. We don't just want to breathe into the diaphragm, we actually want to breathe back into the ribs here. Oh, it's good. Are you tired yet? Stay elevated for just a little bit more because now we're going to sing, okay? One more time, let's just recheck ourselves. Marionette, up. Good. Relaxed. You are so elegant. Oh, nice airy sigh. Try it. Good. Be careful not to hold your hands in front of you. Keep them at your side. There we go. It's so awkward, isn't it? Yeah, if you feel like you need to hold something, pretend there are tennis balls in your hands. Okay, but don't squeeze those tennis balls. Just, yeah. This time I want you to go, ooh. Try it. Good. Now do it without moving your head. Just let your body fill. Ooh. I didn't go, I didn't go, I just, ooh. Try it. Now you're elevated, but don't get tense. Roll them out just a little bit, okay? Let this support you. This time I want you to sing. Good, good. Relax. Have a seat. Tell me what you learned about singing just from standing like that for a couple of minutes. What did you learn? Mm-hmm. It's hard work. It's tiring, isn't it? You can expect your students to be tired too. What you're doing, a voice lesson, is basically this. You are watching your student for tension in the body, okay? Ways that tension will manifest, hands will creep in front right here, because we just want to hold on to something so badly. It's so vulnerable and naked and open like this, isn't it? And what it does is it shows how we actually are not used to supporting our own singing with our muscles, with our core. We're not used to singing with full lung capacity. We're actually used to just kind of like squeezing notes out, okay? So obviously we're looking for tension in the shoulders, we're looking for tension in the back, but for children especially, I find that they are not naturally tense. We teach them to be tense. So if you can just get them standing, if you can just help them learn how to be in an energized, elevated posture, they're going to get tired, and that's going to be your biggest enemy. Okay? But they're not necessarily going to be tense. If they're tense, it might be because of nerves. They might have some family problems going on at home. They may not be comfortable being vulnerable. Okay? You're looking out for that. Look out for what I call elbow disease. With children, they'll just kind of squeeze it in. You're not going to really be able to see it, but you're going to notice there's no space as there is if you're elevated, right? Okay? And how do you ease that out of them? You just you point it out in a gentle way. Relax your elbows. You can even call it elbow disease. No elbow disease today, okay? That squeezing in is them anchoring themselves, giving themselves a point of tension that comforts them. Okay? And singing is all about releasing tension from the body. Another thing you'll do is you'll see they'll just have one hand that they will reach out and it's like they're trying to zap somebody with electricity. You'll see it here in an extension of their hand. Sometimes it'll be in their face, but most likely it's going to be right around here because they're tired. Okay? You're always trying to help them relieve tension. Movement is a great way to do that, right? Having a little bit of a shakeout time, and then you reset, okay? But I'm telling you all this because guess who needs to be the most energized and relaxed? You do, because they will mirror what you do. And you never have to explain it in the way that I did if, first of all, you just model it, okay? And just show them. They want to be like you. They want to make music like you. That is going to save you so much time and space. If inheriting a group that you have not had the chance of raising to be musicians, you might do a little bit more talking and fixing and tweaking in that regard. But for the most part, you modeling it is key, okay? There's one other area of modeling that I think we could spend a bit of time talking about. How many of you have ever had a conducting class? Yes. How many of you have been asked to conduct something? Okay. I don't know what your situation is at your school. Sometimes if you are the person who can play the piano, you become the music teacher. Which means inheriting a group of musicians that you need to lead, and you may have not had an opportunity to learn some basic conducting technique. And again, remember, music is modeled, right? And so let me show you what most often happens. Seated, will you sing Silent Night for me? On this pitch side. First of all, you all are not following me. Second of all, it's just very common to just make a beat in some regard, okay? If that is what you do, then thank you, first of all, for serving your community, okay? Thank you for being the one to lead the children and conduct them. I'm going to give you a couple better things to do, okay? Conducting is communicating with your hands and your arms. And what are you communicating?
What aren't you communicating?
That is Choral Conducting 201. This is Choral Conducting 101. Exactly. But what information do you need to get across to your students when you're conducting? Yes? The timing, yes. The beat, right? We want everybody to come in and finish at the same time, right? So rhythm, we're keeping the time for the ensemble, okay? What else? Dynamics. We might be indicating when to get louder, get softer. Okay. What else? Mood, yes. Style. Whether it's going to be staccato, right? Or legato. Basically, you're going to model the music for them through your conducting, okay? But the primary reason you're there is to keep everybody singing or playing at the same time. So, would you please stand up? A basic 2-beat pattern looks like this. The number indicates the beat and where your hand should be on that beat. The line indicates the movement of your hand, okay? I'm going to show you forward, but then I'm going to turn around so that you can just follow me without having to do the mirror trick. It's most common that you conduct one-handed with your right hand, okay? That's most common. So it would be 1, 2, 1, 2. Try it. Let's try it together. We're going to go at this pace. 2, ready, and 1, 2. Good. Now, most times you're going to see conductors like this. I'm 41. I can't see as well as I used to. So I try to put the music stand up as close to my eyes as I possibly can, which requires me then to conduct up here, right? First of all, it's in front of my face, which is not the best communication idea, right? What if I want to mouth some words or articulation for you? Some of you won't be able to see all the time. But also, this is just not good singing posture, right? This has nothing to do with what we just talked about. This does, okay? Your conducting should be at your belly button, which means my music stand is in the way. You have a couple options, okay? One is you can lower it. This is a terrible music stand. Here's one. You can lower it, but that's a problem for my eyes, right? I can't see that well. Well, I have the option of learning the music to the point where I don't need to look at it. That's risky though, because also my memory is going, okay? Also, this can happen, and that's so distracting to the music, okay? One option is you stand back from it, okay? Another option is you turn it flat, and if my belly button is the point of my beat, then right here should be just fine, okay? I can see it, the lip is not there. You don't want to tilt it like this though, right? Because your music will fall down, but this is one option, okay? Now we're going to do the two beat one more time. I'll use my left hand so you can imitate me exactly. Just put it in front of you. Now find your belly button. Okay? This is as low as we're going to go. Okay? 1, 2, 1, 2. Sometimes when we conduct, we want to reach toward the students, right? We're just trying to get them engaged, right? But that, you lose your singing posture, right? And you are modeling musical behavior for them. You should be stable, just like the singer. You should be good. Yes, adjust those. So you should be confident. And that beat should be clear. Avoid overemphasizing actions. Make your hand flat. Good. Bring it down. Good. Now try both hands at the same time. See how my hand is flat, like I'm smoothing the waters? If I want it to be staccato, I bounce just a little bit. Boom, boom, boom. But be careful not to do it with your hand. That actually slows the beat down. Okay? Boom. Your middle finger is kind of the point of the beat. Okay? Now, legato is connected. Good. Do you notice how when I rise and when I fall, my hand is staying on an even plane? It's not going like this. Okay? I'm not petting a cat. Okay? I'm keeping the beat. Okay? Now, let's sing Silent Night with the appropriate, this is actually the most often way it will be conducted in 3/4. Okay? Though that's not how it is in our hymnal, just so you know. 3 is very similar to 2, except we have an added beat, right? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Try. 1. Find your belly button. 1, 2, 3. Good. Keep it low and centered. In some ways, I'm conducting within this box, aren't I? Okay? So try not to get too much higher than your shoulder. Try both hands. 1, 2, 3. On this pitch, we'll sing Silent Night. Here we go. Ready?
Silent night, holy night.
Just your right hand.
All is calm.
Both.
All is right.
Just your right.
Round yon virgin mother and
Okay, you're gonna cut off. Ready? Cut off. Oh, that's tricky, huh?
the infant so tender and
Both hands.
sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly.
Good. Keep those hands flat. Be careful not to pull at the fabric. Yep. And the reason why is because you're keeping the beat for the ensemble and your middle finger is the beat. If you start turning your hands to the side, it's actually not clearer for your ensemble. You might feel better, right? It's exhausting to do the same thing over and over and again. But your primary concern is to model good posture, to keep the ensemble together, and we can add in some dynamics and stuff, but that's longer than an hour class. Let's try 4/4, okay? Most of your music is going to be in this, all right? One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3. Try to center at your belly button. It's awkward because your hand is not at your belly button. If it would fall naturally down, it'd be out to the side, wouldn't it? Good. That's good. 1, 2, 3. Try both hands. 1, 2, and you go in. 3. Good. Yes. Go 1. Go in, out, but don't cross planes. 1. Just meet in the middle. Good. What is the importance of being able to do it with both hands? Is because sometimes the people who really need the beat might be off to your left, and you need to give them a good one while you cue this group over here, okay? But at other times, it's your tenors who need your attention, okay? And your sopranos need cut off, okay? So that's part of why you want to be able to do it with both hands. And it comes with practice, right? Do you have good posture? Are your feet shoulder width apart? You have a good boxing stance? Good. Now let's cut off. Let's try it a little faster. You can go down to just one hand if you'd like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains. Good. Be careful not to let your elbow be locked against your side. Out a bit. One more time. 1, 2, here we go. Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plain. Try singing at the same time. That the mountains in reply, echoing our joyous nice and legato. Because this is actually what Silent Night is in our hymnal, is 6/8, okay? Do you see how it works now? You follow the pattern. Where the number is, that's the beat. Can you figure, oh, Marie's got it. Yeah, nice, good, okay? So we're gonna cross over to the left before we go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. You conduct me, I'll sing. Ready? Silent night, holy night. All is calm, all is bright. Round yon virgin mother and child. Good. Holy infant, so tender and mild. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Very good. Very good. Have a seat. A bit of pedagogy, okay? So if tension is the enemy of singing, part of your job as a teacher is to be watching your students, which means knowing your song well enough so that you can keep your eye on them, okay? That's hard to do. It takes a lot of preparation. It takes a lot of practice. But again, you're modeling musical behavior, which means you're also modeling preparation. Okay? When you come prepared, they learn very quickly how much work it took for you to get to that point. So we have a standard of excellence even in our rehearsing. Okay? And again, it's so that you can be in the moment watching the student doing 1, 2, 3, really, truly teaching them. Okay? Warm-ups are important for singing. You can Google and find all kinds of different vocal warm-ups. I'm a big fan of doing slides with children, which we just did. E-oh, anything like that. You can do sirens. Woo, 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 woo. And the reason why is because I don't know that it's really necessary for children to hear terms like head voice and chest voice. Okay? They do naturally all that is good. We don't really want to over-teach them what is bad, okay? We do diagnose vocal faults, okay? We listen and we give feedback when something's wrong, but I say go with what they naturally do right, which is if you just model an even register, E-I, okay? They will just do it right back to you. And if you say, peace, you sing it. And then they've learned the high part of Silent Night, okay? And they've learned that actually it's not hard to do. Singing high is not difficult. They just want to hear you do it, and they're going to imitate your sound. And if you give them a good sound to imitate, they'll grow up singing well, okay? I'm of the school of thought that the voice is one register anyway. It's just a matter of finding good vocal health on every note, which often works best in an applied lesson, in a private voice lesson. So another thing is please be looking out for your children who really would excel from some extra attention, okay? I don't know if you're in a community where you already have some private teachers on hand that you could give to the parents as information of who to go to, or if there's a trusted source in your community to find somebody like that. But remember, music is apprenticed, so at some point, I do think it's important, especially the voice is difficult because it doesn't mature for quite a while. And so I'm not a big fan of singing lessons really early on. I'm a big fan of singers making music. So children being in choirs, being in shows, very good things, all kinds of community activities. But private lessons really have to do with technical things with singing, and their vocal folds are still really quite far apart at that point. And so some of those things are just not for them to do. And some are fine, but I'm just saying that I don't know that we really need to be so concerned about, children in voice lessons super early. When you're teaching, would you please use musical terminology? I was reviewing some conducting notes from college, and just in preparation for this, just looking back on some things, and my teacher in one evaluation said, please say, sing pianissimo instead of sing a double P. And that just made me laugh so hard. Use the words that have been given to us, and children will grow up learning the Italian right along as you use it, okay? Please use words like rhythm. Talk about rhythm. Talk about melody. Talk about harmony. Talk about texture. Name the instruments. Let them look at them. Let them handle them. Let them see people playing them well. Invite people into your classroom to demonstrate different kinds of playing and singing. Expose these children to as much stimulation in that regard as is possible. But if you use the elements of music in your language, if you use the fundamentals, they'll grow up knowing them and using them as well. A little bit of feedback I got from the music teachers of the children is that that was something that was a little bit lacking for some of the children. They didn't necessarily recognize the fundamental music terms. And so that might be something just that can actually be improved in a month just from using them. Music is like any other language. It's intended for communication, okay? It's to be listened to. It is to be appreciated. Appreciated doesn't mean liked, okay? It's to be interpreted. It's to be considered, okay? And like any other communication behavior, it needs to be taught. In our present culture, our children are being taught that music is background, okay? Just call to mind for me, where are the different places you go where there's music playing in the background? Stores? Elevators, restaurants, doctors' offices. Yes, yes. Gyms. How many of you have tried to take an exercise class and were pretty sure that your eardrums were blown out? Mm-hmm. Incidental music. Music that accompanies our life. We do this in church even. We're afraid of silence in church. We fill the whole time in church with music if there's not speaking. And so even in church, our children are getting used to the fact that music is accompaniment to some degree. We're also teaching them other things musically in church, which is a blessing. But we have to reclaim music for the foreground in our lives, okay? One way to do that is, Marie made the point that we're just listening to in our ears a lot. We're consuming music. We're consuming canned music, right? We're removing music from its original context, which music was intended to be made. Music is intended to be played or sung. Yes, there's concertizing where we go and listen to music being made, but even then there was an active participation as audience to performer. We're in a world now where we can actually just push play. We can't see the instruments. We can't see the singers. We're just consuming the audio of it. And that's to the detriment of our children insofar as they're not being taught to listen critically. And by critically, I mean, how are they to interpret what instruments are playing if they never see them, if they never classify them, if they never try them, okay? Which of our children can listen to an orchestra and understand that there are, at least 4 different families of instruments being played at the same time? They're probably going to be able to identify a symphonic sound, but not the parts of the symphony. Same with pop music today. Would they even be able to distinguish what is actually an instrument, an acoustic instrument, and what is not? In other words, we at least are from a generation where we have some experience of seeing these instruments, maybe even playing them, maybe going to concerts, but that is getting less and less in our culture. Okay? So we as teachers, as parents, as administrators, we need to be intentional about giving our children opportunities to make music, to observe, be an audience member. We want to bring music back to the parlor where it was in the home for many, many, many years, okay? Now it's just in our earbuds, okay? Used to, if you wanted to listen to music, somebody had to make it, okay? That meant people could actually get jobs as musicians at one point. Now it's so much cheaper to hire a DJ, right, at a wedding? Yeah, I did. Can you give me some examples, raise your hands and tell me, of ways we can be intentional about music making in our homes and in our schools? What are some ideas? Yes?
Singing hymns together before the beginning of the day.
Love it. Singing hymns together before the beginning of the day. Yep.
Maybe singing the table prayer.
Singing the table prayer, yes. Yes, sir.
I've heard it said one of the things that most harmed good hymn singing in the home was the invention of the electric dishwasher. Because that would be something that people would do, sing hymns while washing the dishes by hand.
I guess we just have to sing while we load. But good point, yeah. Good point about how other conveniences are taking away our work time, where we would sing to work, right? Yes. Yes.
Singing while folding laundry.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Lullabies.
Lullabies, uh-huh. These are all excellent, yes.
Well, in my classroom, we do I wrote songs for just about everything. So we sing like everything, but also I created stories to go with classical music so that like when I teach them the Peruvian Suite or Holtz's Planets, I have stories that go with them about who Jupiter is, and we listen to the Mars piece, and I tell them stories about Mars, and then I say, can you hear the war? Can you hear this? Or can you hear Peer Gynt and the Troll's daughter? You know, that kind of thing.
Wonderful. Also, I love that you're using music to teach music, that you're singing instructions and stuff. I love that. Thank you. Yes.
Get caught bringing your own hymnal to church. It used to be that pews did not have hymnal racks because everybody brought their hymnal from home, because the understanding was that hymnal was a book for the home. Be seen using it as such.
Or don't be seen. Be at home using it.
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah.
Now, these are all great ideas for singing, but singing is just one aspect of music making. What are some other intentional ways of utilizing instrumental music?
Well, I think exposing your kids to concerts and musicals and
Thank
teaching
you.
them to participate, or be participating listeners.
Yeah.
One way to model musical behavior is to be an audience member yourself and to take your children along with you. Thank you. Yes. And very important for propagating the arts, may I say. If there are no audience members, there are no concerts. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
When my children have to sit quietly to work, if I'm doing one-on-one with somebody, I'll put on working music. That's instrumental.
Do you get opportunity to talk about that music, who the composer is, what period it's from?
I haven't yet.
I think that's a great thing to do, yes. It would also be helpful to start pointing out different instrument families. Oh, these are brass instruments playing, yeah. Again, just to be intentional about music is not just background, right? Yep. Also, do you ever just let your students work in silence? And then do you use music intentionally in your classroom insofar as you're just going to listen to it, not do anything else? And it's called active listening. And one way to teach how to listen is you give them things to listen for. I think you have some great ideas. Yeah.
I'm very blessed that my mom has collected instruments, and I've got some from around the world. So I get to bring in and teach them the instrument families. A lot of kids have never tried instruments. So when I go through I used to be able to go to the San Francisco Symphony. They don't have that in Southern Cal, but with kindergartners, I would always teach them the music first. I would teach them how to sit in a chair and listen to the music and when to clap.
Good.
How you know. So there's just an element of that. And then I let them try out. A kindergartner on a trombone is...
And what's great about that is they learn, first of all, how the sound is made practically. They may never be able to describe it to you, but that is going to be part of the sound they listen to. How many of us understand a brass sound because we understand the kind of embouchure and blowing that goes into it? That's part of its inherent sound, right? Or when we learn that a reed instrument, they have to bite and suck on that reed and blow air in between the reed and the mouthpiece, there's a vibration that's very whiny and very distinct to the ear. But it's hard to know that if you don't see the instrument, if you don't get to handle it, if you don't get to watch it, and not even just letting them practice it, but honestly, I would encourage you to go one step further and invite instrumentalists into your classroom who can play it well, again, to model good music, right? The idea is to stir up in them a desire to learn more about something. Have your children join a choir or join a band or an orchestra. It can be expensive to take private lessons. It can, and that's an investment, I know. But like all investments, there's a return, okay? And if you have the opportunity to give your children the opportunity to take private lessons, may I give you just a little bit of advice from one teacher to another? Music is the same as math. It's the same as science. It's the same as English. It's necessary. I don't really care if you like it or not. Okay? It's what we do. It's a skill that's important for you to learn. Oh, it does require practice. Everything requires work. There's so much opportunity with music to help a child learn that you can actually learn something you don't know and be able to measure your success. That's very frustrating in the early stages till they get used to that pattern. But the rewards are great and can be applied to so many other subjects. But don't be afraid, parents, to keep investing musically in your children even when they don't like it, because it's education. Okay? It's good for them. It's good for your family. Yes?
At our school, I don't teach this, but stringed instruments is part of our curriculum. And so every child from kindergarten to 8th grade learns violin. And a lot of the parents, it's interesting how at first they think that's kind of silly to teach a little kid. But then when they come to the performances that we do, they just think it's great, and they go and tell other people, you should come out here and see what these kids can do.
Yeah. Children don't know if something is hard. They don't know if it's boring. They don't know if it's outside of everybody else's experience. Children learn what you teach them. And so, again, modeling musical behavior is, first of all, giving them the opportunities and positively supporting those opportunities over a long period of time.
Yes.
I have a question, so I don't want to interrupt her.
No, you're fine. It's okay.
I teach kindergarten, as I said, but I also have a son who desperately wants to sing well, and he's a teenager, and he now has realized that he's not good at singing. He doesn't have a good ear for high notes.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if you have any suggestions, not only for working with young children who tend to be used to screaming, their songs, but there's always kids who don't know how to match pitch. And how do you work with them without destroying their love of singing?
I have never met a tone-deaf person. I've met people who think they're tone-deaf, and within 5 minutes of sitting down with them, it's such a pleasure to show them that they're not. What often is the case, of course, there is some brain development associated with some of this, right? The music we're exposed to as a child does affect, neuron connections and what we're able to handle and listen to later in life, and it's just like language in that regard, right? If you learn a language early on, you're going to know it so much easier and better than if you try it later. However, singing involves all kinds of tissues and muscles. And there's a proverb: if you can walk, you can dance. If you can speak, you can sing. If your son can speak, and if he can scream, and if he can, laugh, right? If he can change pitch at all, then he can sing on different pitches. But part of it is that he probably doesn't understand the musculature and how it works. When we speak, we're overusing about 3 to 4 different notes, and we get very comfortable. And as years go by, if we're never stretching beyond or below that, it becomes very foreign to us. Like we start to have like an alarmist feeling if the muscular changes in such a way that would make a healthy high pitch. That just feels weird. And what we try to do is normalize the weird and help them realize that is how everybody feels when they sing high, and that's good. Let's do that again and again. And then just like any kind of calisthenics with PE, we strengthen the musculature in such a way where we normalize that high singing and that low singing. But oftentimes they can hear the pitch. They can't reproduce it because they don't allow themselves, in their mind, they don't know how to. But from the teaching standpoint, they're not allowing their soft palate to relax and rise. Screaming is their most common association with singing high, and so they're used to the larynx rising. In other words, bad habits can be retrained. And so now I'm not saying that there has not ever been a tone-deaf person, but everyone I've encountered can match the pitches I give them when I help them understand how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm a homeroom teacher, and we have at our school a music teacher, so the kids go to
Awesome.
music class, which is wonderful. I am not a musician in any sense. I can't even read music or anything, but I do, like at home, we sing a lot, and thankfully I've always had one of my children in the class, so like if we're memorizing a psalm that we decide to chant, I'll have my daughter, I'll be like, Claire, you start us out.
Awesome.
But I'm wondering, so this year I won't have one of my own children in my class, and I'm moving down to first grade, but I've had my kids memorize Savior of the Nations Come, or like a hymn, And
I want to be in your homeroom.
in school, and you should have heard how like the kids just loved Savior of the Nations. They just loved it. But I am not able to really like start the class out, and I don't even the conducting like the beats.
Sure.
Would you recommend like using like my computer to start so they hear it first, or I just
That is a good question. I'm going to give you a hard answer. I don't recommend it.
okay.
Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but they can do that at home. They get that canned music all over their life, but part of probably why they love Savior of the Nations Come is because of the community aspect of it, the success of learning something, the physicality of it. It's thrilling to sing. Like you take in more oxygen. It's exhausting if you do it right. It's just like you've gone out and played kickball, right? Not just like it, but I really recommend that you, and you can do this, okay? I really recommend that you start it. And I really do believe you can. And I just watched you conduct. You picked, we did what, 15 minutes of it? You picked up on it so fast. Don't be afraid to take a couple lessons, okay? It's worth it. Because already,
Just like being the receiver of your smile and your gaze is joyful, okay? And if I were the child and had an opportunity to receive that instead of a computer sound, I would take that every time, even if it's not perfect, okay? You can do it. Yes.
If you aren't able to take lessons or something, do you have, like, I'm a homeschool mom, and so is there a resource or something that I could pick up to help my children?
Yes. So sometimes we're limited by geography, right? Yeah. Piano and organ teachers are getting fewer and further in between. It's almost an act of mercy, I think, when somebody teaches piano lessons at this point, because they're just, and then when I talk to piano teachers, they talk about it that way. I don't really want to teach piano, but I'm going to because there's nobody else in the community to do it. So if you're in such a situation, I would first talk to, do you have a church organist? Okay, talk to your church organist first and just ask, who's in the area? What are my options? Local colleges are the next best thing, okay? Oftentimes professors will take on extra students. Sometimes they even have like an academy associated with their music school that's intended for either students who need experience teaching children or the professors themselves. But don't be afraid to engage your local colleges, because if they have a music department, there's going to be a way to get lessons. Beyond that, we do have unlimited internet resources. For the same reason, it's always, I think, a more personal and successful imprint when communication is actually communication, as opposed to screen time. And so if that's your only option, by all means do it. But first check with your church, and then check with your local colleges, okay? Yeah. And if money becomes an issue, I think that's when, as a community too, we talk to each other and see if we can figure out a system that works. Yeah. Yes?
Aside from learning hymns and more sacred music, what folk songs or other things should...
I just want to do a whole nother session. I think that children get opera. They get it. It's so they don't even have to know the language, and they get it. Children understand sonata form. They love instrumental music, even if they don't know what's going on. Children love a cappella music. They love anything, just about. And even if they don't love it, they're reacting to it and they're being formed. So I think all kinds of music that's not offensive, or that it's not satanic, or that does not hurt and harm our children, I would say expose them to it all. I'm a big fan of Lieder, German Lieder, from the Romantic era. It's piano and voice, but it's usually very expressive and dramatic in a way that matches the poetry, and children get it. I'm a big fan of exposing them to things they're not going to get at home or on the radio. And so I'm a big fan of choosing Bach cantatas, because there are going to be snippets of hymns that they recognize in there. I'm a big fan of just absolute music, which would be instrumental only, because again, when are they going to get exposed to that? And as far as time periods, I think you could go anywhere from antiquity all the way to today and hit a home run. As far as a comprehensive list, I really recommend as a teacher to just go ahead and get a Norton recording from a basic music history textbook. They come with recordings, and it's going to have examples of music from all different time periods. Some of it's really hard to listen to, and that's okay. But from organum, from chant music all the way to jazz today, and you'll get an opportunity to talk about what it is and who composed it and who's performing it. Yes, you and then you. Yes.
I was just going to add to that, like you said, just be intentional, and like there's so much history that can be in there, and talking about the instruments and the musicality. Like one thing I like to do is have the students say what they like, if they liked it or not, why, and then tell me one, I don't use the word technical, but like, one thing. Did it go fast? Did it go slow?
Yes.
Listening for something like that.
Yes, and that's a great way to reinforce those elements of music terms. Melody, harmony, rhythm, beat. Yes, thank you.
I just want to make sure I get down just Norton.
Norton, Norton. Boy, I'm saying that, and it's from the dark ages in my brain. Is that right? Norton? Okay.
The Norton Recorded Anthology of Western Music.
That sounds right to me. Yes, publisher. Yeah. It would be fascinating even just for you alone. It'll be fascinating. Yes.
I'm not musical at all either, but I do teach in class, and I found, I did take a couple of sessions with Education Through Music. Are you familiar with them? Mm-hmm. And they're very good about teaching nursery rhymes and things with song. But what I loved about it was the introduction to certain words, like language, the usage of words, and then it incorporates a lot of movement as well, which we had an even in the classroom.
Yes.
But it's much simpler than what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I
that's okay.
I do appreciate that, because for somebody like me and the age that I teach, because I teach kindergarten, it's very helpful to have movement and to do it in a fun song that's a nursery rhyme.
And if you're looking for a good example of that as a curriculum, I mean, kinder music really is good for that, or music garden. And they're going to have just some pedagogical advice, too, as to why certain movements for certain pitches, things like that are very helpful. You all have been so great.
Thank you.